You don't need to be making huge life decisions to feel burned out. Sometimes it's the hundreds of tiny decisions: what to wear, where to put something, when to do that thing you've already moved around 3 times. Those little decisions can sometimes leave you feeling mentally tapped before lunch. That feeling, it's not you being disorganized or scattered. It's called decision fatigue, and chances are your home is feeding it in ways you don't even realize. So let's unpack what's really going on and how to shift your space so that it protects that precious brain juice instead of draining it. Now, decision fatigue is exactly what it sounds like: a deteriorating quality of your decisions after a long day of making them. And most people don't realize how many decisions they're actually making on autopilot, from what to wear, to whether to reply to a text now or later, to where to put the mail when you walk in the door. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned Roy Baumeister, who coined the term ego depletion. We talked a little bit about that in the video on how clutter hijacks your brain. I'll be sure to link it here. He found that every act of decision-making draws from the same pool of mental energy as things like self-control and focus. It's like a battery that all of these things are pulling and draining from. And once it's drained, the battery defaults to one of two things: impulse. Sure, let's order pizza again, right? Or avoidance. I'll deal with that closet later or never. There's a well-known 2011 study that tracked over 1,100 parole hearings in Israeli courts, and researchers found that judges were much more likely to grant parole early in the day, when their brains were fresh. As the day wore on and decisions accumulated, their default shifted to denial, not out of harshness, but out of fatigue. The easiest answer is always no when your brain is tired. It's like Roy Baumeister says, every time you make a decision, it's like doing a mental push-up. You can be a thoughtful, intentional person and still get completely worn out by the sheer number of tiny choices you have to make before lunch. And you guessed it, your environment plays a pretty huge role in that. Most people think of decision fatigue in the context of CEOs or overwhelmed parents, but your home is one of the biggest decision-generating machines in your life. When your space is visually busy or overflowing with stuff, it acts like background noise for your brain. It's constantly whispering, should I deal with that stack of papers? Should I move that donation box? Should I try that eye cream before it expires? Even if you don't make the decision, your brain still burns energy registering the option. According to cognitive load theory, which we've now talked about twice in this month on the science of your brain and clutter, our working memory only has so much room. When it's overloaded by too many outputs, visual clutter, unmade choices, to-do items, it struggles to process new information or maintain focus. So all of that stuff in your space, it's not neutral, it's actively draining your bandwidth. And the more options your space offers, the more decisions you're forced to make. A closet overly brimming with clothes equals 5 outfit try-ons and still nothing feels right. Kitchen drawers full of mismatched gadgets equals you avoiding to cook entirely. 3 planners, 6 apps, and 2 whiteboards equals planning fatigue instead of clarity. This is why even small steps like a capsule wardrobe or a streamlined entry area can feel weirdly freeing. You're not just organizing, you're removing those mental speed bumps. You're protecting your brain power. So how do you design around mental fatigue and stop decision fatigue before it even starts? Well, it's pretty straightforward, right? You design your environment to reduce decisions. This is known as choice architecture. This is a concept from behavioral economics that just means shaping your surroundings so that the best choices are also the easiest. Instead of relying on self-discipline all day, you make a few smart decisions once that guide your behavior automatically. A set it and forget it type of situation is always going to be 10 times more powerful than things you have to try to do over and over again. So here's what that might look like in real life. We used the example of a capsule wardrobe earlier. So something like that is a set it and forget it that can help you to eliminate outfit indecision in the mornings. Meal planning is something that a lot of people do, or rotating menus to kind of take that nightly guesswork out of dinner. Or assigning homes for items can remove the whole friction of where does this go and how do I make space for it dozens of times per day. Now, come on, when you declutter and let things go, you're not just limiting your life, you're removing the noise, the stuff that you didn't really want anyway, the stuff that you were always shoving past to get to the things that you really wanted. It's called simplicity. The options that don't matter are going to fall away so that the options that do matter can stand out so that you can actually see them. But decluttering is not the only option. Some things that you can do to really implement this choice architecture at home that aren't decluttering are to just put things you want to use more, like healthy snacks, walking shoes, your favorite pens, your favorite outfits to wear to work, all of those in direct sight to make it easy and more convenient, and hide the things that distract you or that get in your way. You could also use groupings in places like your kitchen or your closet to make it easier to find the go-to items, putting them together, making it like a quick grab bag. You could do that with your gym bag, making sure that your gym clothes and shoes and everything are inside, so you're not having to waste decision-making energy on deciding what to put in the bag and what to wear to the gym. Treat and protect your energy like the resource that it is. Your brain doesn't have unlimited capacity to make decisions. The more you ask of it, especially early in the day, the more you risk running on fumes by the afternoon. So the smart move isn't to try harder and to push your brain as far as you can, it's just to spend your energy more intentionally. And that might mean automating where you can, using things like auto pay, set recurring tasks, stick to routines that you're not having to think about for high traffic moments, like getting things ready in the morning or preparing for dinner. Streamline the things that you can't automate. That might mean minimizing choices in the areas that don't really matter. One good knife in the kitchen might beat 5 dull ones, like a basic wardrobe that you love makes getting dressed faster and more pleasant because you already know that the things you're putting on your body are things that fit you and that you actually like. You could also remove the decisions that you don't need at all. Declutter, delegate. If it doesn't need to be on your plate and it doesn't need to be in your way, then remove it, whatever the case may be. And if you need a little help in that area, I do have a free workshop that walks you through exactly how to start decluttering in a way that feels good using a holistic method. The link is below in the description, so don't miss it. And the next thing you could do is to build systems, not just solutions. If you've been here long, you know that I'm big on systems. I have a video here about some of my favorite systems that we use in my household. But there's a difference between solving today's decisions and solving the pattern that's keeping you drained and keeping you making too many decisions. Most people try to fix decision fatigue by dealing with the symptoms, organizing your closet, making better to-do lists, downloading an app. But the root is that we're operating without systems that protect our attention in the first place. So a system says, this is how this type of decision gets made. This is how we tend to decisions of this type all the time. It removes the friction because you're not just starting from scratch every time. So here's what that might look like. You could have a clothing system where you're rotating seasonal capsule wardrobes or donating what doesn't fit your vibe, and you have a specific box or bag in a certain location, and that you stick to go-to brands so that you're only bringing in things that actually work well for you. You could have a meal system where you're creating a default weekly meal plan. Tuesdays are taco days, done, You could have home systems where you're defining zones and limits or putting one basket for the mail so that everybody knows that the mail goes into this one basket. You could have one shelf in your bathroom that's strictly for skincare so that, again, everybody's on the same page, that you have a system, and when the shelf gets too full, something needs to go. Systems create clarity and they show you how things work. They put everybody on the same page and really they make the next step obvious. And when the next step is obvious, you don't get stuck spinning in indecision or drowning in small tasks. You move. The easy thing to do is just to take action because you already know what the next step is. And when life inevitably throws a curveball, which it will, the system helps to cushion that blow, because you don't unravel just because your brain is maybe a little bit fried on that day and maybe the day went a little bit sideways. Your environment can hold the shape of your life for you. So if you're feeling scattered and overwhelmed or stuck in endless loops of indecision or making too many decisions, it's not a personal failure, it's really a systems issue. And your environment is either supporting your energy or it's slowly draining it. Once you've identified which it is, then it's just a matter of taking some small actions around your space, designing around your decision fatigue. That doesn't mean you're giving up all of your options. It just means that you're deciding what matters once so that you don't have to keep doing it over and over again. I hope that you guys enjoyed the topic of this month of May, which was environmental design and the brain science behind clutter. If you've missed any of them, be sure to check them out. I'll try to have some of them linked here on the end screen. There were a couple of topics that we brought back up and kind of built a little deeper into those ideas, so it might be cool to watch them in sequential order. That month of June, we're going to be getting into emotions, the emotions of letting go, and how to break some of the attachments that we can get into with our stuff. So if that's you, then I look forward to seeing you in June. Chat then.